I think, Susanna, what's your most embarrassing? No, I mean, I think we should all share.
If Susanna's going to share,
I have to share. I got a lot.
Yeah, I'm not the only one sharing my most embarrassing moment here.
I've got to.
All right, Sarah, can you narrow
I've got
it
to
down?
think for a second.
Okay, well, mine is first grade. First grade, and I'm a little first grade. Well, yeah, I said that first grade. So Franklin, Texas. That's where I went to first grade.
Where is Franklin?
It's Bryan College Station.
Okay.
I took my kids to this classroom about 6 weeks ago. And showed them, because it's like outside and you can look in the window. But my most embarrassing moment happened in the bathroom of this classroom. Okay, so there are 2 classrooms and they have the adjoining bathroom, to keep it all safe and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I went to use the restroom. And when I mean use the restroom, I meant, sitting down on the restroom. Y'all sit down all the time. Guys don't. So the thing is, I was there using the restroom. My feet don't even touch the floor. My pants are down behind, bound to my ankles or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the door opens right in front of me, and one adult in a suit walks through with a clipboard, looks down at me, keeps walking. I said, "Well, that's awkward." A second, a lady walks through, clipboard, looks down at me. A third, somebody from the school, walks through. It was like a parade of suits. And I am on the potty, y'all.
That
I'm
sounds
on the
like
potty.
something out of a movie.
They went into one classroom. No, don't go outside. Cut through the bathroom. They cut through the bathroom. I'm on the potty. I remember it. I'm old now. Aww. I remember that. Can you believe that?
That is so sad.
So embarrassing.
Well, mine was my freshman year of high school. I was at Stratford High School. And there's this big central staircase, main stairs. And I just remember I had on a denim mini skirt.
This is your first year at public school, right?
Correct. I'd been at private middle school. And so my first year at this big public school, you're trying to make a good impression. You're a freshman. The bell rings. People are pouring out of classes. And
More people than you've ever seen in your life.
And I'm running up the stairs, running in my skirt, and
Listener, she has her arms going.
And I spread eagle it down the staircase with my books fly everywhere, like do. And I just still remember one of the varsity football players standing there looking at me. And I don't remember anything beyond that. I just felt so dumb and foolish.
He just stood there and looked. He was like,
okay. And he didn't know who I knew who he was. He didn't know who I was, obviously, But just those moments of.
But it still sticks in your head.
Oh yeah.
Crazy. Okay, Sarah, your turn.
I have so many. Oh my goodness, of bad falls, of people opening the door on me going to the bathroom, me opening the door on someone else. I mean, it's so many. But one thing I'm just thinking of is, I decided I wanted to try out for cheerleader. And in high school, and I had spirit, so I just felt like I'm totally gonna make this. But do you know what I don't know how to do? Tumble. Not 1 ounce, y'all. I've never even known how. I've never even done a cartwheel. I can't do a cartwheel, so it came to the tumbling. And I nailed my cheers, and they were looking good. And then the tumbling comes. And do you know what I did?
What did you do? A cartwheel.
A
somersault.
Yes,
I did a somersault. Well, and then stood up and landed it.
Yes.
With my arms. I did that and looked.
Like cheerleader arms. Yeah.
Was this in front of the whole student body? Or just judges?
I feel like this was judges
Please let it be
and
in
the
front
other.
Of the whole student body. Oh no, it wasn't. Okay.
This wasn't. That would have been way more embarrassing. Yeah. So then I couldn't wait to find out and see my name on, Highland Park High School cheerleading. I knew I was going to make it. I knew it.
This is the 7 in you coming now.
Yeah, and I was shocked. I didn't.
You're like, nailed it.
Then I tried out for drill team, the bells, twice. Never got myself a golden bell. No, never. But then, I quickly reframed. I was like, oh, yay, now I don't have to wake up at 6 a.m.
Well, look at you. You're a surviving, thriving adult human being.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Moms that are listening, that are freaking out over their child not making cheerleader or drill team or whatever they call it. What do they call it?
It's drill team. Oh, yeah.
I'm
a drill team dad.
Okay. I mean, which is amazing. Yay. But it's okay if they don't. make those
In
things.
the wise words of Susan, it's what looks like rejection is God's protection.
Oh my God.
No, is that?
And I'd be like, stop saying that, Mom.
I love that.
That's what she would say?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't it?
And I hated it growing up. But now, guess what I tell my kids? What looks like rejection is God's
protection. That's
Yes.
great.
It is. We should have T-shirts made.
So it's never for nothing.
It's never for nothing.
Ooh.
All the way back.
That's right.
Unbelievable. I think the T-shirts and the sign, I feel as though that would work best in the medium of needlepoint. You know? Like
I kind of want to learn needle pointing.
Like never for COVID did that on a bunch of things. Yeah, one guy I know is baking sourdough bread still, you know, because of that.
Working that
week.
starter.
Working that starter.
I did that for a little bit. I'm one of those people that I bought needle pointing stuff, and then I saw the instructions of how to do knots. Anyways, my friend, my darling friend Katie is over there needle pointing stockings in Tulsa, you know, for all her children. I bought all this stuff, but have I made a stitch? No, because I got overwhelmed with the what stitch is that? I don't even know. So I called Buttons and Bows.
Yeah, there you go.
And they don't have any needle pointing, which you know, doesn't that lead us into this when you're like remembering the past?
Okay.
I'm the one that's the quitter.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I persevered.
You persevered.
I remember the first time that I went to counseling. All right.
Okay.
Went to counseling. I was 20-something.
Yeah.
Finally, you know, surrendered to that. I'm telling you, I felt as though when I walked through the doors and I sat in the little waiting room with the old magazines.
Yes.
In the office furniture. I went up to the desk. I'm like, hi, I'm Stephen Smith. I'm here to, you know, see whatever. You know, I felt so much like a patient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just, it wasn't embarrassing. I mean, I guess on some level it was embarrassing, but I felt like a patient, you know, when I did that. The second time I went to counseling, I felt like an athlete. Because I expected when I came in for me to, although, I mean, it's, I felt like I would meet with the doctor in the lab coat, and he would prescribe do this and do this. But when I realized what counseling really was, biblical counseling, when I realized it was coaching, it changed everything. Mm-hmm. So when I felt like a patient the week before, I came back and I was like, wait a second, I'm a high performance athlete. When you do counseling, you've got to put on that type of mindset. You've got to do that kind of thing. They're the ones that help and guide us back into who we are, where we came from, so that we can unlock where we are going. And that's what Restore does a lot. That's what the workbook does a lot for all of us. Listener, if you're here and you're reading Restore, you understand what the importance of remembering, you understand the importance of going back is going to make toward your future. And that's really what we're talking about in this episode, is really remembering it. Why it's necessary on one hand, but it's so hard to do on the other. Take us through what you are trying to convey in Restore about the importance of remembering, and that being a start to the healing journey.
So Dan Allender, he is a counselor in the Pacific Northwest and an author and really respected in the Christian community. But he says, what stays unremembered stays unhealed. And so remembering is so important, because the things that you're pressing down are affecting you. It's like an infection. It's like a wound that needs to be lanced. And if you don't remember and you don't deal with it, it's going to come out in anxiety or depression or broken relationships. And so at some point, and God in his mercy will often allow something to happen where you cannot, it's like something's got to change. For me, I've alluded to this before, but it was adopting our youngest daughter from China and bringing her home and me getting just to the end of myself. And I was like, okay, something's got to change. And that journey from insecure attachment to secure attachment is a long one. It's 3 to 5 years to move towards something called earned secure attachment, but it starts with remembering. And I think that counseling is a really important part of remembering. And perhaps if you're listening and you don't I mean, counseling can be expensive. Maybe you don't have the finances for it or the time for it.
Yeah, or you literally are embarrassed.
You're embarrassed. Yes.
You've not said, I just need to do that.
Yeah.
Counseling is for other people. Mm-hmm. Counseling is not for me.
Yes.
But the definition, that would show I'm weak. I don't have it together.
Admitting it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the primary way you move from insecure attachment to secure attachment is you tell your story to an empathetic listener who then invites you to hear it through a different lens. And that's why counseling is so effective. That's what you're doing. You're telling your story, and they're saying, okay, I hear you. What if we saw it this way? And that's why to see results in counseling, you really have to go consistently for a year. Because it's a lot. I mean, it's a slow thing.
It's very interesting.
So counseling is a part of helping you remember, but to me, there is no you have to also be in intense times of remembering through God's word. And that's really what this book and the workbook is for. It's to help people. It's not a substitute for counseling. It's not a substitute for even if sometimes people need to be on medication for a certain time, and that's okay, But there is no substitute for being in the Word of God and working on telling your story to the ultimate empathetic listener, who is God, and letting Him say, okay, let's see it through this lens, which is His Word. So it's really, remembering happens in this convergence of you being willing to tell your story to God first, and then to either a counselor or a small group or people that you really trust, and then really purposing to learn how to see your life and story through a different lens.
And I found this workbook and seeing the Lord in it through this workbook and book, to do it in a really gentle way. Mm. I think I thought I was going to be rushed to look back on all these, different things I had a little bit in my upbringing, but I was kind of scared to look back.
Yeah.
And because as I said before, I don't want to be stuck in the pain, and you're not going to be. I think that is the big idea, is I just wanted to jump to acceptance. It all works out, and not go through some of the different, I guess, whether it's levels of grief, to rightly look at my past.
Yeah.
And so it was funny. So I've not really been a consistent person that works out. Susannah's this incredible athlete, and I'm not. I prefer to sit down and visit. But so I started, because I was a nervous. I mean, I was just like a wreck last fall, and so I was trying everything for my mental health, and so I was like, I'm going to go do these boot camps with Fred. And Fred was awesome. Fred's this college athlete, but he's encouraging, and really, you do all these crazy things. I even did this thing called a man maker. Anyways, and I didn't know anything what he was talking about. But my husband told me, he's like, Sarah, just because something's painful doesn't mean you have to stop. And I always thought, if it hurts, I stop.
Yeah.
I sit down. Yeah. If I run a block, I got side stitch. That's enough. I better go to walking, and Susannah's over here blazing a trail. I'm going to go do this and that. And it stayed, but that connected me to so many things. Yeah. I was like, even if it's painful.
This is a side note, but this summer, this was your first Ragnar run?
Yes, my first Ragnar run. That was really fun.
Run, sorry.
Sounds
Ragnar.
Serious.
Real serious.
It's a trail run that you do as a relay team.
And wait, listener, if you ever wondered what it's like to die,
and say it's amazing.
Then you've got to hear this story. You run for 24 hours, right?
Yes, your team. Yes, it's a 24-hour run.
And they're 4 or 5 of you on it?
There are 8 of us. There are 7 of us actually on our team.
Even better. If there are 1,000, I might do it.
Yeah.
So
you run a step.
Yeah, that's right.
I like that. Run a step, a block.
That's perfect.
Yay. Are you in?
I'm in. This is going to be great. Look what I did. I ran 1,000 miles.
Do I get a medal?
So, and then you run how far?
So there are 3 loops. So a team of 8, you would each run 1 loop. Since our team had 7, I ran 4 times. The first loop was like basically 4 miles, second loop 5 miles, third loop 6 miles. So it was a total of 20-ish miles. And
Sarah and I are just like looking at Susannah like she's from another planet.
Yeah, I got all kinds of side stitches just listening to that.
I gotta sit down.
Yeah, it was like,
oh, good thing I am. I like this better.
my favorite memory from the year. What is wrong with me?
No, that's incredible.
I don't know. My kids think I'm nuts too. In the summers, I'm like, it's time to go hiking. They're looking at me like, no, Mom.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. You have a great story from the summer about that. Anyway, so just because something is painful means, this is what Colby said, something is painful.
Corey.
That's what I said.
You said Colby.
You said Colby.
No, that's what I said. I'm just kidding. So just because something is painful doesn't mean you need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's anathema, really. That's
what does that mean?
like, you don't know what anathema means? Y'all don't know what anathema means?
No.
Well, I do.
Wow.
What?
With the help of Google,
mean?
it makes me sound sophisticated. So
Yes.
it's something or someone that one vehemently dislikes.
Oh.
Something that someone vehemently dislikes. So even though running 1,000 miles or whatever it was, is crazy to some it's therapeutic. To some, it's an amazing accomplishment. And so what we've got to be able to do is enjoy or learn to enjoy the action of remembering so that we can begin this part of you.
Yes.
To me, just as an outsider looking in to restore, Susannah looking into the book and all that's the biggest hurdle or the barrier to entry to really plugging into, and I'm sure there's listeners out there that have, if you've stuck with us this long in the podcast, thank you so much for that. If you've gotten the book and you're on like chapter 1 and you're stuck, I'm telling you, I'm there with you. If it's the biggest barrier to entry is the remembering part and is the going back through all my junk because I want to be able to look forward so fast. I don't want to look behind, but what we talked about is really that rear view informs the windshield, and really informs what's happening down the line. So remembering is the first key. So how is this process? You described this before, but how is this process kind of like surgery? You've described it as that before. I think it would help us.
Well, I think so. I read Kurt Thompson.
Just because it's bad doesn't mean.
Just because it's bad doesn't mean if you had cancer, and you needed surgery to get the tumor out, would you avoid the surgery because it was painful? No, you get out the tumor. It's pick your pain. I mean,
that's it.
You're gonna live. You have a malignant mass inside of you that needs to come out, and it's not. And what's interesting as believers, it's not so much that it needs to come out as it needs to be shifted the way that we see it and healed. And we need to know that we are. And this is actually Kurt Thompson says this in his book, the new book that he just wrote, and I'm blanking on the name, The Soul of Desire. And Kurt Thompson's new book, The Soul of Desire. But we need to know we are seen, soothed, safe, and secure. And that in every hard place that has happened to us, we spend so much of our lives and our energy pushing it down. Energy that should be going into, as the people of God, creating beautiful, good, life-giving things. But instead of becoming the whole person and contributing and helping people like we need to be, we spend so much energy pushing these malignant things down in our lives. And the work of remembering is saying, Lord, being still for long enough to say, I trust the surgeon's hand. Do what you need to do on the inside. And teach me to remember through a different lens that I am seen, soothed, safe, and secure. You are with me, even in the pain. And you are with me in all of those painful memories and places.
Yes, so that I can you can bring me to new levels of freedom.
Yes.
And so that I can be not like, oh, this is the real me, which it kind of is, but it's really who God created me to be.
Yes.
And there's a lightness and a freedom and a peace and a quietness in your spirit that comes after, even though it's like surgery and it's hard a little bit before it gets better, but get better if you stay with it.
I'd say this may be something directly to the listener. Listener, we know you come from all different walks of life, all over the country. We want to be able to say something relevant to you, and we feel like the Lord does. And really, that's the heart of this content, and that's the heart of this book. I wonder, Susannah, if you might say something hopeful to one of those that might feel like remembering is impossible.
Yeah.
And really what that breakthrough is like to healing.
I think about, time after time when you read the Psalms, and especially when you read the Old Testament, the people of God were commanded to remember. It's not do I or do I not. It's a command. And they were to remember the Exodus. They were to remember their deliverance from Egypt. They were to remember they were to remember the Passover. And in the New Testament, it shifts to where we are to remember the death and resurrection. And I love Miroslav Volf in his book, The End of Memory. He says, we are to remember as a people on our way to deliverance. That's what the Exodus and the Passover, the Old Testament, pointed to. And that's ultimately what the cross and resurrection point to. That every hard memory we have, if you are a believer in Christ, will end in resurrection. It will. That's a promise. And we don't always see that here in this life. I remember when my grandparents passed away, and they were both believers, and I loved them so much. There was just so much still undealt with brokenness in their lives that was hard to stomach. Their death just felt like, wait, how can this be when they loved the Lord? That's what heaven is for. We're not going to see ultimate resurrection and reconciliation and redemption until heaven, but we are to practice while we're here on this earth. What does it mean to remember in such a way that we see all of our life through the lens of the steadfast love and faithfulness of God? And in 2 Corinthians 4, when Paul is talking about, he says, inwardly, outwardly I'm wasting away, but inwardly I'm being renewed day by day.
Little by little.
Little by little. And I would think when he's saying I'm being renewed day by day, yes, that's by the Spirit of God, that's by the Word of God, but I think he's talking about the resurrection that Paul is bringing, because the resurrection was so important to Paul. It was so central to his theology and his faith. He is bringing all of his life, no matter what's happening on the outside, prison, floggings, shipwreck, hunger, the list goes on and on. He's bringing all of it through the lens of resurrection and redemption and where I'm headed one day. And it's practicing. I love this. I think we are commanded as the people of God to remember, because it's practicing for heaven. It's practicing for heaven, that all of our sorrows will be renewed. All of them will be made new. And it's not a magic wand. Mm-hmm. It's all our lives, our sorrows, our memories, everything is filtered through the lens of the cross and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's amazing. And he doesn't ask you to remember anything that he has not first gone through and suffered through himself. He is with you every step of the way. And so your heart, even though it's hard to remember these things, it's like being in a foxhole with someone. I came to love the presence of the Lord in a way I had never experienced or loved him before, because he was with me in the foxhole.
And I desperately need him.
Yes.
And recognize my need for him.
Yes. And what's weird is that the hard things are still hard, and I still remember them, but I remember them now through almost the scent, as weird as that might sound, but the fragrance of his presence with me.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Yeah.
But it's like it's something fundamentally about it has changed. The shame is lifted, or the guilt has lifted, or the rejection lifted, and instead it's the nearness of my God. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
And seeing where he was in the midst of it. And for me, this slowed me down enough to ask God, where were you in this hard incident I don't want to really look back on? And that was something that was really sweet. As I got quiet enough, he showed me where he was. And I know that sounds kind of like strange, but like that he was still my protector.
Yes.
And so once we are able, and we can just ask him and say, Lord, help me see what you were doing. Because it seems like you weren't really there. It didn't feel like it. And then when we ask him, where were you?
Yeah.
It's really sweet how he can show us.
Yes. And all of life becomes transformed through that lens of, and that's my favorite name of God. It's Emmanuel, God with me. He is with me. And in fact, I often start my prayers like that in the mornings in my journal. Father who is with me, my God who is with me. You are with me. That's the only thing that gets us through life. And that's the only thing I can tell you will get you through remembering.
You can try a lot of other things that seem better and then be like, oh, shoot, this isn't working anymore.
Yes.
And so when it stops working, because everything will, do I have a book for you?
Yes.
So great. I think for us, remembering, is the hardest thing to do, but as you're saying, it's the most important thing to do. And remember that we're people on the way to resurrection. I love that what you said, just that phrase just a second ago. Really what you've done is you've provided a framework where we remember first, and then we restore second, and then we rebuild. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're headed with the content in the next few episodes. Listener, we hope that you're enjoying what you are hearing. If you're just joining us, there are a couple of episodes that you're going to want to check into before this one. If you're like a type A person and you start at the beginning, you don't have to. But if you're like me and you read the end of the book first, this is great. So you can find us on SusannahBaker.com for more info and stuff about the Never for Nothing podcast and everything that Susannah is up to. We appreciate your time. Thank you for spending it with us. We'll see you next time on Never for Nothing with Susannah Baker.